Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
Please like and subscribe. And if you guys want to listen to our entire episode, check out Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or anywhere podcasts can be heard. Today, we're going to be talking about Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. And I'm going to kick it to Jerry for the bio.
Zach Wilson was a three-star recruit coming out of Draper, Utah. He had multiple offers, but opted to stay close to home and go to BYU. He actually enrolled early to get a head start on getting some playing time as a true freshman. That was a smart decision on Wilson's part. He climbed the depth chart and ended up starting 7 games as that true freshman. His sophomore season was derailed due to a hand injury and a lingering shoulder injury, but he did still start 9 games. In his junior year, he was phenomenal, starting all 12 games, leading the Cougars to an 11-1 record and ending the season with BYU ranked number 11 in the nation. I mean, he was bad in a good way this year.
He was PHAT fat.
Yeah. And I got a fun fact for you.
Fun fact.
He left high school early to go to BYU, so he had to go back for his high school prom. And
that's right.
He brought 2 BYU cheerleaders to his high school prom.
Yeah.
Keeping that Utah face strong.
There you go. Not 1, but 2. Yeah. He should be a top 5 draft pick just based on that alone, not even looking at anything else. Yeah, he's 6'3", 210 pounds, so he's not the biggest guy. He's got the height, but he might need to put another 15, 20 pounds on that frame. Looking at his stats, he had some up and down seasons. As you mentioned, in 2020, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 3,600 passing yards, 73.5% completion percentage. But his freshman and junior seasons, right around 65% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions the freshman season, but 11 touchdowns to 9 interceptions in that sophomore season. I think he did have an injury that sophomore season, so he was dealing with a little bit of pain. But looking at his rushing totals, this is an interesting stat. In 2020, 70 attempts for 254 yards, so not a lot of yards per attempt, but 10 rushing touchdowns. So to go along with that 33 passing touchdowns. And just looking at some of his highlights, he's got some wheels. Like, he's not slow.
I think he's a very mobile quarterback, but mobile in the sense that he's not looking to run. He's an opportunistic runner. I mean, he only averaged 3 yards per carry this year.
Yeah. Right.
But I think close to the goal line, he realized that the field is spread out a little bit and he may be able to sneak in a little bit. And same way on 3rd and 4th downs, he's able to get a yard or 2 that way, but he's not looking to run like a Justin Fields, a Trey Lance typically.
He's not like a Josh Allen type runner, but I think I would compare him to like a Teddy Bridgewater type runner, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's going to take it if there's nothing there and he's got the room. He can get some touchdowns, as we saw Teddy get a few rushing touchdowns this season. But he's not going to blow you away with his, he's not going to make people miss in the open field.
See, he reminded me of his running ability, kind of like an Aaron Rodgers does.
I think Aaron Rodgers is a little better runner, to be honest. Yeah. But that's not the first Aaron Rodgers comparison I've heard from this guy. So let's look at some of his pros. As we said, he's athletic. He can extend plays. He's not going to, run for 500 yards in the NFL probably, but he is going to get, some rushing touchdowns. He can make all the throws. He's got a nice arm. It's not a Patrick Mahomes type strength on that arm, but it's probably better than Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be able to get the ball down the field. He's a very accurate passer, as we as we mentioned, 73.5% completion percentage in 2020. That's awesome. He's got a powerful arm. As I said, it's not it's not a Josh Allen type arm. I keep comparing him to Josh Allen. It's not going to throw it out of the stadium, but he can hit a Hail Mary from the 50-yard line.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch his highlights, he hits that deep ball pretty consistently.
And I saw he in terms of deep passes, he had the highest rating in college football in 2020. He's good at going through his progression. He's competitive, and he can fit the ball into tight windows. Again, go look at some of his highlights. Some of these completions he's making, I mean, he's throwing them perfect, just perfectly to the receivers. So, but it's not all cherries and berries, Jerry.
Oh, no. Now looking at his cons, he only had one really good season. Everything else, he wouldn't have gotten. I don't think he would have been drafted without this season.
Yeah, he flew up the draft rank. He might have been drafted, but he definitely flew up the ranks this season.
I mean, you look at him, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in his sophomore year. I mean, it's not great. 62% completion percentage. Yeah, not great. But this year, like I said, phenomenal.
He did improve. That's what you like to see. He did improve.
He did improve from his sophomore season. Unfortunately, BYU doesn't play top-end competition. It's just, facts.
Not as bad as Trey Lance.
No, not as bad as Trey Lance. And he has some injury concerns. Shoulder and hand surgery in his sophomore season. Supposedly that shoulder injury was bothering him in his freshman season as well. He's also a smaller frame guy that makes you worry a little bit more. Yeah, he's 6'3", but at 210, he's smaller than Rasul Douglas, a cornerback. And I'm going to go ahead and assume Rasul Douglas is a little bit more muscle than.
Well, you never know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how, buff Zach Wilson is, but like I said, when we were talking about his bio, he could stand to put on 15, 20 pounds.
I was watching his highlights and I was like, he looks so small. How is he 6'3"? Like, he does not look like that.
Yeah.
But moving on, he has some character concerns. Multiple people have said that he's not really a leader in the locker room. He's a selfish person and kind of a know-it-all, especially with coaches in the NFL. I don't know how well that's going to be fought. I've heard some scouts say he reminds them of Johnny Manziel with a better arm and not the drug problems.
Well, the drug problems were a big problem.
Yeah.
For Johnny Manziel. Yeah, that's not. I mean, you never like to hear that, right?
No.
I mean, especially the cockiness. We've had cocky quarterbacks come in to the NFL, and Josh some of them work out just fine. Yeah, Josh Rosen was the exact one I was thinking of, who has not worked out very well. So yeah, I mean, I've heard the character thing as well, but again, it's like a lot of hearsay. I haven't seen it. Like, he hasn't gone to jail. He hasn't done anything, illegal that has been caught, at least. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about Zach Wilson overall? He seems to have everything you'd want, but there's also like, I don't know. I'm not psyched about it.
I'm really worried he's a 1-year wonder. A 1-year wonder, and that from the character concerns, maybe get full of himself.
Yeah, but who also there was concerns they were a 1-year wonder?
Oh, Cam Newton, I know.
Well, no, Joe Burrow.
That's true.
Joe Burrow was kind of a very similar trajectory of Zach Wilson. And I've actually seen some comparisons with Joe Burrow in terms of arm strength.
Joe Burrow only started one season, though, didn't he?
That's what I'm saying. Like, 1-year wonder, you don't have a lot of positive tape
But Zach
on him.
Wilson started for 3 years.
Yes, but one great year, right? Joe Burrow, I mean, they both have one very good year. And and that's pretty much what you're drafting them on, right? But
you
in terms
are drafting him on that one season.
Yeah. But that seems to be working out for the Bengals. I mean, Joe Burrow got hurt this year, but when he played, he looked very good.
Yeah. I like his arm. I like his competitiveness. I worry about him, though. I don't know what about him has me so worried, but.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the mocks and just listening to the analysts, the NFL draft analysts. They sort of go back and forth on Justin Fields and Zach Wilson in terms of who should go higher, who will go higher. Seems like right now Zach Wilson is pretty universally being looked at as the number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Behind Lawrence. So the question is, will he fall to the Panthers at 8?
I currently don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. Although I did just look at a mock literally before we started this podcast who had him at 8. They had Fields going ahead of him. So I think things are still up in the air. There's still a lot of time between now and the draft for, there's pro days, there's, they're not really doing the combine, but yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that's going to happen.
And I think at the interviews, even though they're through Skype this year or Zoom, I think they're going to play a big part because I think there's a logjam between 2, 3, and 4 of the quarterbacks. Typically, Trey Lance is the 4th one, but he shows a lot of promise. So I think those interviews, especially for Matt Rule, who's trying to build something here, if we don't trade for Deshaun Watson, he's going to talk to these guys. If he feels comfortable with them, he feels like this is the guy that's going to lead my team, who's going to be the leader and everything like that. I feel like he'll go with whoever he likes the most.
Yeah, as long as they're there. I mean,
well, yeah.
And what's interesting is just like Trey Lance, the 1 year, right? The one great year. Zach Wilson's the same way. If you're looking at, outside of Trevor Lawrence, if you're looking at body of work, then Justin Fields is obviously the one that you would choose, right?
Absolutely.
Consistency and, has all the tools as a mobile guy. I mean, he sort of fits the NFL right now in terms of what teams like to do. Yet I've seen a lot of people saying that he's the 4th. Justin Fields is the 4th quarterback, with Trey Lance going ahead of him. So it's just real interesting to watch. And again, this is all mocks. This is ESPN analysts and NFL.com analysts, and who knows, right? Yeah. And everybody's wrong. I mean, I'm seeing 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4 all the time, and it's never happened before. So,
I mean, Mel Kiper had Jimmy Clausen a top 10 pick.
Yeah, that was what a steal. The Panthers get him in the top of the 2nd round. Yeah, well, we were excited about that pick.
I was cutting backflips down in Tampa because I was living there. I was like, "Woo, we got him!"
Oh man. As we always ask, does this player fit the current roster? Yeah, of course. I mean, any quarterback that we talk about is going to fit the current roster. Would you be excited to draft this player?
Yes, I would be excited. Yeah, I would still have my reservations about him, but. Again, I'm trusting in Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule to make the right decision on the quarterback.
Agree. If they go through, I mean, because it's not just the interviews. They're going to be talking to friends and family. They're going to be talking to high school coaches. They're going to be talking to college coaches. They're going to be talking to everybody. They're going to get a complete picture, former teammates. They're going to get a complete picture on all of these guys that, they have a potential of drafting. So if they're okay with his character concerns, which really, in terms of the negatives that we talked about, would be the only one that would really caution me, because his frame, he can put on muscle, and he will put on muscle in the NFL. And the 1 year wonder thing, like we just talked about, Trey Lance the same way, just Joe Burrow was the same way. I mean, that's just something you're going to have to deal with these days, it seems like, especially with COVID. A lot of guys that you're only going to have 1 good year of tape on. So, yeah, I'd be extremely excited to draft him if that's the way that they wanted to go. Agreed. Where does he fit on our big board?
This is difficult.
So let's recap the big board real quick.
Okay.
And this is just the guys that we've talked about so far. So number 1 on the big board, we have Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, left tackle. I don't think he's going to bump Sewell from the number 1 spot, right?
No.
Okay. Number 2, we've got Justin Fields. Number 3, Micah Parsons. Number 4, Trey Lance. Number 5, Kyle Pitts. I believe Kyle Pitts should be higher. That has an asterisk beside it. Where, for you, does Zach Wilson fit?
I have Justin Fields above him in my head.
Okay.
I like Justin Fields a little bit more, but Micah Parsons, I'm going to go above Micah Parsons, and I'd put him at 3.
Yeah, I think I think I'm not going to let the ESPN mock draft folks sway me. And I'm going to agree with you that I still would take Justin Fields over Zach Wilson. I think Justin Fields has a higher ceiling than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson may have a higher floor than Justin Fields, just based on his sort of measurables and talent. I think both of them could be very good. So I'm going to agree with you. However, I think I think he has to go above Micah Parsons, even though I would love to draft Micah Parsons. It's so hard. Like, I almost want to have a big board for quarterbacks and a big board for everybody else, because
I was arguing that in my head too when I was looking at it. I was like, I would love Micah Parsons, but he's so great. But
yeah,
quarterback is such a need.
I know. It's like, so we'll put him at 3. Okay. So Zach Wilson will come in just under Justin Fields. You could even almost call it a 2A, 2B situation, but we'll put him at 3. All right. Any final thoughts on Zach Wilson?
No, not really. Just I like his arm talent. Last year's arm was just phenomenal. Yeah. Watching his tape. That's the word I can use for him last year.
He's going to be a really good player, I think. And he would be a massive upgrade for the Panthers. So,
yeah.
All right, Jerry.
All right. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on our show. Next week, we'll be taking a look at cornerback Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Hey, guys, we're also on Clubhouse, by the way, at MeowMix Pod for Clubhouse. That's iOS only, Jerry, so I'm sorry that's just a me thing.
I was going to say, I have no clues what that is.
That's just a me thing. All right, so as Jerry said, we'll be back next week. And until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding. Wow.